Imagine a civilization that appeared almost out of nowhere over 6,000 years ago. A civilization that invented writing, the wheel, complex mathematics, and even the 60-second minute we still use today. I'm talking about the ancient Sumerians, who flourished in the Fertile Crescent, the land we now know as Iraq. Their achievements were staggering for their time, creating a society so advanced that it laid the foundation for nearly every culture that followed. But where did all this knowledge come from? Mainstream history tells us it was a natural, albeit rapid, evolution. But the Sumerians themselves told a different story, a story of gods who came from the heavens. They called these beings the Annunaki, which translates to those who from heaven to earth came. These weren't just abstract deities representing the sun or the moon. The Sumerian cuneiform tablets, some of the oldest written records in existence, describe the Annunaki in vivid detail. They were powerful, physical beings who descended to earth, established cities, and ruled over humanity. These texts, like the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Enuma Elish, are filled with tales of their power, their conflicts, and their direct interactions with mortals. For most archaeologists and historians, these are simply foundational myths, humanity's early attempts to explain the world around them, personifying natural forces as gods and goddesses. But what if they weren't just myths? This is where things get really interesting. In the 20th century, a writer named Zechariah Sitchin proposed a radical new interpretation. After spending decades studying and translating Sumerian texts, he argued that the Annunaki were not gods, but extraterrestrial astronauts from a rogue planet in our own solar system, a planet he called Nibiru. According to Sitchin's theory, these beings came to Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago in search of gold. Why gold? Not for wealth, but to repair the deteriorating atmosphere of their home planet. The work was grueling, and the Anunnaki miners eventually rebelled. To solve their labor crisis, they decided to create a worker race. This is the core of the ancient-astronaut theory regarding Sumer. Sitchin claimed that the Anunnaki, led by a chief scientist named Enki, genetically engineered a primitive hominid early man by mixing their own DNA with that of our ancestors. The result was Homo sapiens, US. We were created, according to this theory, to be slaves, to toil in the gold mines for our celestial masters. This story eerily mirrors the Sumerian creation myth, where humanity is fashioned from clay and the blood of a god to serve the divine beings. Is it possible that the Sumerians weren't writing mythology, but a literal history of their own origins, a history that we have tragically misunderstood? Now, it's crucial to state that mainstream science and archaeology completely reject Sitchin's theories. Scholars point out that his translations of Sumerian texts are often creative, if not outright inaccurate. There's no astronomical evidence for a planet like Nibiru, with its supposed 3,600-year orbit, and the genetic evidence for human evolution points to a long, gradual process in Africa, not a sudden intervention in Mesopotamia. From a scientific perspective, the ancient-astronaut theory is pure pseudoscience, and yet, the idea refuses to go away. Why? Because the Sumerians themselves present us with so many tantalizing mysteries. Let's look at their knowledge. The Sumerians had an incredibly sophisticated understanding of astronomy. They identified constellations, tracked the movements of planets, and knew about celestial bodies that are invisible to the naked eye. How did they know this? They claimed the Anunnaki taught them. They developed complex mathematical systems based on the number 60, which is why we have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle. They created detailed legal codes, advanced irrigation systems, and a complex social structure with kings, priests, and workers. The Sumerian king list, one of their most famous texts, documents a line of kings who reigned for impossibly long period spans of thousands of years each before a great flood. After the flood, the lifespans of the kings become much more realistic. Could the pre-flood kings be the long-lived Anunnaki rulers, and the post-flood kings their human successors? The descriptions of the Anunnaki themselves are also fascinating. They are often depicted as giant figures, wearing strange helmets and holding what looked like technological devices. In some carvings they are shown in what appear to be flying crafts, often described as skyboats or whirlwinds. Are these just symbolic representations of power? Or are they depictions of actual technology that the Sumerians witnessed but couldn't fully comprehend? Consider the story of the Great Flood, which appears not only in the Bible but in the much older Sumerian Epic of Gilgamesh. In the Sumerian version, the gods decide to wipe out humanity, but the god Enki secretly warns a human named Utnapishtim to build a great boat and save himself, his family, and the seed of all living things. This sounds remarkably like a mission to preserve a genetic bank from a global catastrophe. The theory also attempts to explain some of the world's most mysterious ancient structures. If the Anunnaki had advanced technology, perhaps they were the original architects of sites like the Giza pyramids or Stonehenge, creations that seemed to defy the technological capabilities of their time. The idea is that human beings were simply carrying out the plans of their extraterrestrial overseers. This connects the Sumerian story to a wider global narrative of ancient gods who descended from the sky to teach humanity, from the Viracocha of the Andes to the sky gods of ancient China. Could they all be different cultural memories of the same group of visitors? Of course, there are more grounded explanations for all of this. The rapid rise of Sumerian civilization could be attributed to the perfect storm of a fertile environment, human ingenuity, and the powerful organizing force of religion. Their advanced knowledge could have been the result of centuries of careful observation and record-keeping, not a gift from the stars. The impossibly long reigns of early kings are likely symbolic, representing the divine origin of kingship rather than actual lifespans, and the flying crafts and strange devices. These are almost certainly symbolic representations of the gods' power and their celestial home, interpreted through a modern, technological lens. But the allure of the Anunnaki story is its ability to provide a single, grand, unifying theory for so many of humanity's deepest questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? Are we alone in the universe? The theory suggests that we are a hybrid species, born from the earth, but touched by the stars. It paints a dramatic picture of our past, full of celestial drama, genetic engineering, and a struggle for freedom. It reframes our gods as our creators in a very literal, biological sense. It's a story that is, in many ways, more compelling and more epic than any traditional creation myth. Whether you see the Anunnaki as mythological gods, as misinterpreted historical figures, or as literal aliens from another world, their story remains one of the most captivating legacies of the ancient world. The Sumerians left us a puzzle written on clay tablets thousands of years ago. They told us that beings came from the sky and made us who we are. Mainstream history tells us to read it as poetry, as metaphor, but a part of us will always wonder, what if they meant it literally? What if the truth about our own origins is hiding in plain sight, in the world's oldest stories? The debate continues, fueled by the mysterious, advanced, and utterly fascinating civilization of ancient Sumer. What do you believe? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to ancient Mesopotamia. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Anunnaki theory, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.